Listen carefully. If you think cheating looks like lipstick stains or strangers in her DMs, you're already blind. The real betrayal hides in everyday words, dropped so casually you don't notice until it's too late. Tonight, I'm exposing the signals your wife doesn't want you to see, the ones that prove she's crossing lines with someone you already know. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I want to know where men are finally waking up to the truth. Don't blink. You'll miss everything. Signal 1, the paranoid trap. You ever notice how the moment you bring up something that feels off, she throws out the same line every time? You're being paranoid. That phrase isn't comfort. It isn't reassurance. It's a weapon designed to make you doubt your own eyes. Here's how it plays out. You spot that late-night Slack message from a coworker, time-stamped at 11:47 p.m. She swears she was helping with a project, but when you question why it couldn't wait until morning, she snaps back, "You're just paranoid." In that moment, you start second-guessing yourself instead of her. That's the trick, because paranoia is the perfect mask. If she labels you as paranoid, then suddenly she doesn't have to explain why she stayed an extra hour at the office when everyone else already clocked out. She doesn't have to explain why her phone lights up at midnight with a contact saved under a single initial. By the time she's done, you're the problem, not her. And let's be honest, most men fall for it. They silence their instincts because they don't want to be that guy, the one who snoops, the one who questions. But here's the truth. Women who use this line rely on that fear. They know you don't want to look controlling, so they spin it back on you. The gossip detail, I've seen it play out with women who claim they're just stressed and venting to a male friend at the gym. Suddenly, that same friend is the one she leans on when work gets too overwhelming. And when you ask why she needs him at all, there it is again. You're being paranoid. Don't be fooled. That phrase is a smokescreen, and the more often you hear it, the more certain you should be that something is happening behind it. The subtle lies never come wrapped in drama. They come wrapped in calm, casual words that sound like common sense. But making you feel crazy isn't her sharpest weapon. The next one cuts even deeper. Signal 2. The brother. Defense. You've heard this one before. He's like a brother to me. Sounds innocent, right? Almost wholesome. But here's the problem. No woman has to oversell a platonic bond unless there's something she doesn't want you to question. Picture this. She's at the gym, laughing a little too loudly at his jokes, her hand lingering on his arm longer than it should. Later, you notice her tagging him in inside joke memes at midnight. When you ask about it, she rushes to reassure you. Relax, he's like a brother. That over-explanation is the red flag. Brothers don't need PR campaigns. The defense works because it feels untouchable. Who questions family? By comparing him to a brother, she dares you to challenge her loyalty. If you push back, suddenly you're the insecure husband who doesn't understand friendship. And just like that, the spotlight shifts from her behavior to your supposed lack of trust. But here's the gossip nobody says out loud. Most of these brothers are the exact ones sliding into her DMs at night, the ones offering rides home when she stayed late, the ones who conveniently show up in her Instagram stories more often than her actual family. They're not brothers. They're options she keeps hidden under a fake label. The danger isn't just what she's saying, it's how casually she says it. The brother defense is designed to make you feel guilty for even noticing. It's a trap. You either ignore your instincts or you risk being painted as controlling. Either way, she gets cover for behavior that doesn't add up. So the next time you hear that phrase, don't dismiss it. Ask yourself, why does she need to work so hard to convince you it's nothing? The truth is, the harder she insists, the more there is to hide. And when she stops defending herself, that's when the attacks on you begin. Signal 3, the insecurity accusation. Here's the moment when the script flips. Instead of reassuring you, she goes on the offensive. You're just insecure. Notice what's happening there. She isn't answering your question. She isn't clarifying why her phone history suddenly looks spotless, or why her WhatsApp messages with that coworker are mysteriously missing. Instead, she's turning the spotlight on you, hoping you'll crumble under the weight of her accusation. And most men do, because nobody wants to admit insecurity, right? She counts on that. The second you start defending yourself, "No, I'm not insecure, I just noticed," you've already lost. She's shifted the whole frame of the conversation. Now, instead of investigating why her phone conveniently glitched and wiped a week's worth of chats, you're explaining your emotions. Clever, isn't it? This isn't reassurance. It's psychological judo. By accusing you of insecurity, she forces you into silence. Because what guy wants to look like he's checking messages, noticing patterns, connecting dots? The word itself, insecure, is meant to shame you into dropping it. And here's the gossip detail that makes this even dirtier. Often, the so-called friend she's texting is the one giving her advice on how to handle you. Yes, the same guy she's too quick to defend is also the one she vents to about you late at night while you're asleep. He knows your fights, your weak spots, your fears, because she hands him the script. And she'll throw the insecurity card at you to protect that pipeline. So, when she says you're just insecure, what she really means is, stop looking too closely, because if you do, you'll find exactly what you're afraid of. And by shaming you, she buys herself more time to keep the game going. The truth is, no faithful partner ever weaponizes insecurity. They calm it, they soothe it, they prove it wrong. Accusations only come from someone with something to hide. But insults aren't her strongest shield. Her guilt trip is waiting right around the corner, and it's even more dangerous. Signal 4. The don't make this weird. Move. This one sounds casual, almost playful, but it's anything but harmless. Don't make this weird. She drops it when you catch her crossing a line she doesn't want to admit to. Picture the scene. You're at a small get-together with friends. She leans in close to one of them, laughs too hard at his whisper, maybe touches his shoulder a little longer than necessary. You notice the tension in the air. It feels off. When you raise an eyebrow or shift uncomfortably, she smirks and shuts you down. Don't make this weird. That phrase is pure manipulation. It paints you as the one spoiling the mood, the one twisting something innocent into suspicion. Meanwhile, she's free to keep flirting under the cover of normalcy. And here's the trick. The more normal she insists it is, the less you feel entitled to question it. Now, let me spill a little gossip for you. I've seen women use this exact line after sending private snaps of themselves trying on outfits and then brushing off questions with, "Relax, it's just a joke. Don't make it weird," or they'll suddenly start carpooling with a coworker, claiming it's practical. And when you notice the pattern, out comes the same phrase, designed to silence your gut. What's happening here is subtle gaslighting. She's turning your perfectly valid instinct into a flaw. Instead of asking why she's acting differently around that one guy, you start worrying about whether you're reading too much into it. But here's the cold truth. If it feels weird, it usually is. People in healthy relationships don't need to dismiss their partner's instincts. They respect them. That phrase isn't about protecting you from overthinking. It's about protecting her from exposure. But guilt isn't the worst trap she has waiting for you. The next one chains your trust against you. Signal 5. The trust-guilt switch. When all else fails, she plays her ace card. I don't know why you don't trust me. Notice how sharp that line is. It doesn't answer your question, it attacks your character. It's not an explanation, it's a guilt trip. Suddenly, the issue isn't her late nights, her hidden chats, or her shifting alibis. The issue becomes you, your supposed inability to trust. Picture this. She says she's working late, but her phone is off for hours. You're left staring at the clock, wondering why a deadline looks a lot like a blackout. When she finally resurfaces, you spot a fresh group photo on Instagram, posted by someone else, not her. And there she is, sitting shoulder to shoulder with the same man you've had doubts about. You confront her, and instead of explaining, she sighs dramatically and says, I don't know why you don't trust me. That phrase is a masterstroke because it forces you onto the defensive. Instead of pressing her on the missing details, you find yourself justifying why you even asked. Nobody wants to be the paranoid husband, right? She knows that. She counts on it. And by the time you're done defending your sanity, the real issue, the man sitting too close, the secrecy, the late-night messaging, has vanished into smoke. Here's the gossip twist. She'll often recruit her friends into this act. Suddenly they're chiming in. She was with us, you're overthinking. But notice carefully, those same friends are the ones who conveniently covered for her the night she needed space. They're not protecting you, they're protecting her alibi. The trust-guilt switch doesn't just silence you once, it conditions you. Each time you feel suspicious, you remember how heavy it felt to be accused of not trusting her. So you swallow it down, you play the understanding partner, and your silence becomes the shield she hides behind. Here's the truth most men miss. A faithful partner doesn't punish suspicion. They open the door wider. They reassure, they explain, they invite clarity. When she makes your trust the problem, she's already rewritten the story. But emotional traps are nothing compared to emotional confessions. And the next one doesn't just mask betrayal, it reveals it without ever saying the word. Signal 6, the vibe. Excuse. There's a phrase that slips under the radar because it sounds so casual, even playful. We just vibe. On the surface, it feels innocent, like she's describing a fun conversation or harmless banter. But don't be fooled, that line isn't small talk. It's an admission that she's found a connection strong enough to excuse why she keeps someone around so closely. Think about it. She doesn't say this about the neighbor who waves good morning, or the coworker who passes her staplers. No, she reserves it for the one man who lingers in her phone after midnight, the one she's swapping inside jokes with on WhatsApp that you're never a part of. The one whose name lights up her screen while she smiles to herself, quick to flip the phone face down when you walk into the room. When she says, "We just vibe," what she really means is, I have a connection I don't want to explain to you, but I'm not willing to give it up either. It's a soft confession wrapped in a harmless label. Here's the gossip angle that makes this so dirty. I've seen women use this exact excuse with a so-called work friend. First, it's lunches during office hours. Then it's catching up after the gym. Before long, she's telling you he just gets her humor or understands her energy. And when you raise an eyebrow, she laughs it off. Relax, we just vibe, it's nothing serious. That's the lie, because by the time she's labeling it a vibe, it's already serious enough to be a problem. The danger of this phrase is that it doesn't deny the bond, it downplays it. She's confessing there's chemistry, but disguising it as too trivial to threaten you. And because you don't want to come off as insecure, you let it slide. That's how she wins. The more you ignore it, the deeper the vibe grows, until it turns into an emotional lifeline she reaches for daily. Vibes aren't harmless, they're seeds. Seeds that grow into midnight texts, private laughter, and the phrase that always follows, "He just gets me." And once she crosses that line, you're no longer competing with suspicion. You're competing with a replacement. But when she moves from "we vibe" to "he gets me," that's when the replacement becomes undeniable. Signal 7. The replacement warning. There's one phrase that doesn't just hint, it flat out declares where her loyalty has shifted. He gets me in a way no one else does. Those words aren't casual. They're a confession disguised as a compliment. She's not just talking about being understood, she's admitting that someone else has already stepped into the role you were supposed to fill. By the time she says this, the emotional connection is fully built. It's not about potential, it's about reality. The so-called friend, who was once just the workout partner, the chat buddy, or the helpful coworker, has now become the man she leans on emotionally. He's the one who hears the details about her day before you do. He's the one whose jokes she repeats at dinner. He's the one who conveniently always checks in when she claims you're too busy. And here's where it turns darker. Many women use this phrase mid-argument, not by accident but as a weapon. You forget to respond to a text and suddenly she's comparing you. Well, James always makes time to ask how I'm feeling. That's not admiration, it's provocation. She's planting the thought in your mind that another man is already doing your job better. The gossip detail? I've seen this happen in group chats where she lights up only when his name pops up. I've seen it after work drinks where he drives her home, just to be safe. The line between comfort and replacement blurs slowly until suddenly she's declaring he understands her soul in ways you never did. It's not just emotional cheating, it's emotional eviction, and the danger is subtle. Once she frames him as the man who gets her, she isn't apologizing, she's justifying. In her mind, it's no longer betrayal. It's filling a gap that you supposedly left open. That narrative gives her all the permission she needs to keep drifting further toward him without ever calling it what it is. This is the stage where most men finally wake up, but by then, the replacement has already been built brick by brick. And if you think this is the end of her excuses, you're mistaken, because the final line doesn't just shift blame, it rewrites the entire betrayal as your fault. Signal 8. The you never listen. Setup. There's a line that looks like a simple complaint, but it's actually the final setup. You never listened to me. At first glance, it sounds like frustration, like she's tired of repeating herself. But underneath, it's not about dishes left undone or arguments ignored. It's about rewriting the story of your relationship so she can justify stepping outside of it. Here's how it works. She plants the seed. You're inattentive, distracted, emotionally unavailable. Suddenly, every argument, every silence, every missed call is ammunition for her narrative. When she says, you never listen, she's not trying to fix the gap. She's building a case against you, one that makes her betrayal feel like the logical next step. Picture this. She complains that you're too busy with work, even though her phone buzzes constantly with friendly messages from the guy who always has time. She claims you dismiss her stress, even while she's venting in detail to someone else over coffee. When she tells you you never listen, she's already found someone who does, and she wants you to believe you're the reason she needed him. And here's the gossip twist. I've seen women spin this line to friends too. He just doesn't get me anymore. It sounds sympathetic, but really it's cover. Because while she's painting you as the inattentive husband, she's texting another man paragraphs about her feelings at midnight. Those screenshots become the proof she uses to explain, if not to you, then to herself, why she's allowed to drift. The real danger of this phrase is how convincing it is. Every man has been distracted at some point. Every man has missed cues. So when she says it, you recognize some truth in it, and that guilt makes the setup work. You stop asking about her sudden girls' nights, her new habit of going radio silent after the gym, her growing dependency on a single friend. Because in your mind, maybe she's right, maybe you weren't listening enough, but here's the truth. A partner who truly wants to be heard doesn't run to someone else. They demand to be heard by you. When she uses you never listen as her anthem, it's not about being heard, it's about being excused. See you in the next video.